Welcome to The Writer's Dream. This is a show where authors can talk about how they write their books, how they publish their books, and how they market their books. You can find us on YouTube. Just look for The Writer's Dream. You can find us on Facebook, and the name of the page is The Writer's Dream. If you have a question for us or you would like to be on the show, you can message me through The Writer's Dream Facebook page. We are also here on LTV, which has video on demand, so you can see us there, and Cablevision, Channel 20, Fridays at 3 o'clock. So we're all over the place. Our guest today is Melissa Kuch. Hi, Melissa.
Hi, Linda. Thank you for having me here.
Melissa is one of my recidivists. She's been here before, and she talked about her first book. She is writing, I thought it was a trilogy, but now I found out that it's 4 books, a 4-book series called The Hypothesis of Giants. So tell us a little bit about the book. First of all, Melissa is an author and playwright.
Yes, yeah. Started out as a playwright and then have, now started this amazing journey for writing The Hypothesis of Giants. And the latest book in the series is The Control. And it really is a journey about Aurora Alvarez and Boreas Stockington, who are 2 15-year-old teenagers who live in Candlewick, and they're on this journey to help Otis, a 30-foot giant, reach the Northern Lights. And they've been up against so many different obstacles, especially Inspector Harold, who is this totalitarian type leader of the United States of the Common Good, who is trying to stop them from fulfilling their mission of stopping this cataclysmic event from happening, which is the geometric storm. So through the first 2 books, they have figured out their mission and that they have to fulfill this prophecy. And now as we go into the 3rd book, Aurora has received her powers as the goddess of dawn, trying to figure out how she's going to be using these powers for good or for evil and how to tell the difference. And then there's Boreas, who still needs to get those powers to be the god of the north wind for them to head to the Northern Lights to stop this geometric storm, but he doesn't believe he's worthy to be this role or to fulfill this prophecy, that he thinks that he is tainted from his encounters with Inspector Harold.
So let me see if I can remember from the first book. They live in, Candlewick is a pretty controlled place, yes?
Yeah, so it is.
How did they find out about this prophecy?
So they found out when they actually heard the conch shell sound, and only Boreas and Aurora were able to hear it, and that's what tied them together. They at first, were not friends, they didn't even talk to each other, and then it connected them to find Otis, who is in the basement of this ruby red house where this mystical Mrs. Taboo lived. And that's when they find out from Otis that they are all tied together to help stop this geometric storm from happening. And that's when they find out that they need to get their powers first in order to move forward. Okay, so what's the genre of your book? Is it YA? Is it fantasy? Is it a journey myth? Is it horror? Is it mystery? A little bit of everything, but primarily it's young adult fantasy adventure, and there are dystopian themes, and it spans across many different ages. I've had 5th grade level readers love this series, as well as 60-year-old readers, and I feel like there's elements that really resonate with all different age levels to really feel for these characters and for their journey.
Yeah, well, I think that's very true of young adult books. Young adult books have a much broader appeal than we like to give them credit for. My books, too, are written for a little younger than young adult. At least I found that out through marketing them, that I thought it was young adult. But adults like the books.
Absolutely, and even for my own reading, I love young adult literature. I feel like you can really get a lot of, deeper themes come across in those type of books that really make you think and really understand the world in a different way.
Yeah, I think they tell their stories in a purer way because you're writing for a young audience and they don't necessarily have a lot of overlying information and themes, so you have to put it out in a pretty much in a pure form.
Yeah.
Where did you get your idea for this? Because this is really very imaginative.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I started off as a playwright. So I was writing plays, and I always wanted to write that great American novel, but I could never finish a book. I would start writing it and put it down. I just could not finish it, so I kind of like put it on the side, thinking that was never going to happen. I went to a playwriting conference at the Stony Brook playwriting conference here in Southampton, where I had a great teacher, Adam Bach, who really inspired us to not just feel like as a writer we had to stick with one type of writing genre, and that we could challenge ourselves and try different things. And I remember that he went down the list, and he looked at me and said, "You're a writer." And I said, "Oh yeah, I like to write on the side. It's a hobby. I'm working full time." And he's like, "No. You're a writer." And that's when I really started to think that, yes, this is who I am. It's who I want to be. It's a part of who I am. And like 2 weeks later, I had a dream that I was on like this, flying through the air with a giant. It was very strange. And I don't normally remember my dreams, but I remember this one.
Good thing.
Yes. And later that day, my husband, wasn't my husband at the time, but he mentioned the Aurora Borealis. And I was like, this is so interesting. I wonder where they got that name. And so I did some research, and I found out that Aurora was the goddess of dawn, and Boreas was the god of the north wind from mythology. And I thought, how interesting would it be if these type of powers were within like a normal, like present, everyday setting, but we could throw in some like dystopian world, like the United States of the common good, and see where that would lead. And it led to the series, which I never imagined.
Yeah, I think that those themes of a dystopian world and having somebody have some powers to straighten it out, it's very popular today.
Yeah.
So, okay, so your characters describe Aurora Alvarez.
So Aurora is 15, in Candlewick. She is, bullied by some of the kids at school. She's a misfit. She's very intelligent, and just trying to find her place in this school and in her family too. Like her mom is a little critical of her, and she's trying to she doesn't think much of herself that she's gonna be in this prophecy where she's going to become the goddess of dawn. So I really love her journey, because I feel like she's really, especially in this third book, now that she has these powers, she's still dealing with a lot of those issues from earlier on, where she doesn't feel like she is good enough, or that she really can be this goddess and be able to use these powers for good. But I love that there's so much depth to her that a lot of different readers can really emulate with her and emulate with her journey. And I love the fact that she's torn between her and Boreas, though her love really is Boreas's brother Jonathan Stockington, who does come in more for the third book for this love triangle. And who is she going to end up with? Is it going to be Jonathan, who she's always been enamored with, or is it really the connection with Boreas that she's really falling for?
And Boreas is a pretty complicated character too, isn't he?
He is. So he's another one who was a misfit at school, always under the shadow of his older, perfect brother, who his brother was the captain of the football team and all these things, and Boreas could never measure up, especially in his father's eyes. And so that's another thing too, where when he is in the second book, when he is injected with the soul extractor serum by Inspector Harold, a lot of these,
Soul extractor serum?
Yes, the soul extractor serum. So
it is a horror novel.
But it brings out supposedly the true nature of oneself, and that's when Boreas thinks that that part of him is evil, though Aurora does help him see the light, of course. But now that he has to become the god of the north winds, it really kind of it's still in the back of his head, what if I really am, that is my true nature, maybe I really am evil, though he has to go on this journey to figure out who he really is and really fulfill his destiny.
So why did you pick Two Misfits?
I feel that I think that I also felt like a misfit in school too. I feel like a lot of people, especially when you're not really sure who you are yet and what your true potential is, that especially in high school, you're not really sure what you want to do. You gotta go to college for this future dream or this future goal, which you don't really know who you are yet, and you're still figuring that out. I mean, I'm still figuring it out at my age now, and I think that maybe is why I took Two Misfits, especially when I first started the series, that to kind of get those insecurities and those things out, and then to come up with this hopeful mission to help, make the world better.
Now, their powers are going to be used to stop a geometric storm. Would you call it? What's a geometric storm?
So the geometric storm, I actually took it from another thing from the Northern Lights, which is the geomagnetic storm, which is, could cause disruptions in, electricity and things of that sort. And I thought, how interesting would it be if there is a geometric storm, which I envisioned, and it is something that is apocalyptic and, really cause massive destruction. Through this Northern Lights and through like all these different, space and solar powers and things of that sort, that really then ties back into the supernatural theme of using these powers that Aurora Boreas are going to be receiving to be able to stop it.
Yeah, did you know that the geometric field of the Earth is switching? The North Pole is becoming the South Pole, and the South Pole is becoming the North Pole. Not the geography, the magnetic field of the Earth is switching. It takes 700 years to do it, though, so don't wait. Okay, so what was your journey like creating? Now you're going to go on to the fourth book. I mean, life happens while you're a writer.
Absolutely,
And
yes.
So describe how, where, where you write and
My journey really has, I've been on my own journey along with the characters from the beginning of when I started this novel to now the third book that was just published, The Control. And it really, the first two books, as difficult as it was, I did not yet have my daughter. And when I started writing the third book, I had my beautiful daughter, Lily. And I was also dealing with some health issues after, giving birth. And so a lot of that was making me not want to write and, kind of like put it aside that, is this even what I want to do anymore? And it really was the beautiful people in my life that really came to help me realize and remember that this series is so important to them and to me, and that it was time for me to re-enter the United States of the Common Good and to really continue with Aurora Boreas' story. So really overcoming those obstacles in my own life, really did come across in this third book, and it is a very hopeful message. That even through the darkness, you will find the light.
Well, motivation to write is one thing, and sitting down to write is another thing. Right? Mm-hmm. That's what I found. I'm very motivated. I'll get an idea. Wow, that's a great... And sometimes I write it down, sometimes I don't. How do you find time with a 3-year-old to get writing? Do you get up at 3 o'clock?
It is not easy.
I have a friend who gets up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and she writes from 3 to like 7 when her kids get up to go to school. And then when they go to school and they're out of the house, she sleeps for 3 or 4 hours, until that's how she does it, because she said she can't possibly do any. First of all, the phone's not ringing, nobody's emailing her, because she runs her own business as well. So she does it then.
Well, I'm definitely not waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning unless Lily is like, "Mommy, what are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm sleeping." What are you doing?
No, but when she goes to school, that might work.
But I was working full-time when I was writing the third book with a young child, and it was challenging. It really was challenging to try to find time. And when I really realized that I wanted to get back on this journey and I wanted to write this book, I needed to write this book, when you're passionate about something, you will find time to do it. And that's what I tell people, because they even say, "How do you do it?" I'm like, when you love something, you will find time. I was writing on my commute going into the city, so 45 minutes each way. I was sitting down writing at my computer. Most of this book was actually written on the train. Writing late at night, so after Lily went to bed, I was writing till, sometimes like 1 o'clock in the morning, and then finding, some energy from who knows where, good caffeine, to be able to keep going the next day and to be able to function. But it's a different type of energy. I feel that when you love something, it's not like going to maybe your day job, you just got to get through the 9 to 5, whatever the case is. But when your heart and soul is in something, you really find this new force and energy to really keep going, that you have this great story to tell and you've got to let it out.
Yeah, I think I get captured by the story and the characters, so I get lost in it, and it's almost relaxing to get lost in another reality. So that's a help for me. Setting to me is so important to set the mood. Tell me about your setting. What settings did you use? Once they leave Candlewick, what's it like?
So once they leave Candlewick, so they've been many places, some imagined and some not so, that are still real places. And in this third one, I love that I tied in Hyperborea, which is where, Boreas is going to get his powers. Nobody knows where Hyperborea is. It was something from mythology or whatever the case is. So I brought it to America, or to United States of the Common Good, out west somewhere near Bryce Canyon that nobody knows where it is. But it's this beautiful valley,
right next
surrounded
to
by
Roswell.
mountains. Oh my God, it sounds beautiful. I want to go. How do I find this place? But I love that you could really use your creativity to take places that really exist and give it your own little twist, and make it really fit in with your story. And that's what I loved about something like Hyperborea, where you could add that kind of magical element to it.
So you probably were creating dark places and light places?
Absolutely.
What were your dark places like?
So the dark places is where the inspector, is really living. And
Tell me about him. Where did he come from?
So Inspector Harrison, I love, one of the things I love about being a writer is that you need to get into all of your characters' heads, the good and the bad. And you start realizing maybe your bad guy, maybe there's a lot more to him than you thought. Like, everyone is the protagonist of their own story. And so I love getting into his head that, he had lost his son when the Towers of Freedom had fell. So that was his reasoning behind running for politics and to really create this United States of the Common Good where religions are abolished, because he felt like because of the religious conflict, that's what caused his son and for all these people to perish. And it was then through the fear that other people began to follow him and to then, realize that this is a whole new party, a political party that they've created, and he ended up becoming powerful with the ideal, which is this being that nobody has seen before, or more of like this idea to follow and to continue moving forward. And so I think it's so interesting. So he thinks he's doing the right thing by trying to stop Aurora and Boreas from fulfilling their mission and saving this country, when he wants to come across as being the savior and being the one to come up and really start a brave new world of sorts when the geometric storm hits, and create this new world for the people who are most loyal to him, for the people that he believes in his vision for this new world.
So what's Hyperborea like?
Hyperborea? It is beautiful. Like, it's supposed to be this beautiful eternal spring. That's what they said in mythology, is this eternal spring, and we're still waiting for spring here. I know it's been the never-ending winter, but it's the eternal spring. And I think that the thing I love is that when because there's going to be a big battle there. So that's where the protesters are going to go against Inspector Harold. It's going to be the big time for Aurora to utilize her strengths and her powers along with Otis to try to buy Boreas time to get there, and hopefully that's where he's going to get his powers. If Boreas will get there or not, they have to have faith and believe that he will get there. And so this is when the winter comes, when the inspector comes, and I think that it's so poignant, because it's like taking like a perfect paradise, and now you have this cold front coming in of war and battle. And is that natural? Is that it's not natural to nature that is supposed to be happening. And so I feel like that is a major theme in this story about war and about conflict, and also about faith and being able to have faith in yourself and faith in others.
Right. I really feel that setting can be almost a character in your books.
Absolutely.
You can create a setting that's so gripping that it becomes so much an integral part of the book that it's like a character.
Yeah.
Do you have any other characters?
I do. I have a main character, which is so funny. When I first had written the first book, this character was not even in there. So the characters are Jake Frey and Mary Frey, who Mary Frey is Aurora's best friend. She's the only one who really stood up for her in the first book, and she was the one against the bullies, so she stood up for Aurora. And she gets arrested for her religious beliefs. And disappears. They don't know where she is. And Jake Frey is the first lieutenant, so to Inspector Harold. And so he, was brainwashed at one point until he meets Aurora, and then he realizes that there is this geometric storm happening, and he starts to unravel the clues as to what is really going on behind Inspector Harold, and like the fog is lifted. And so now he was undercover to try to stop Inspector Harold, but he fails. And now in this book, he's now at the mercy of Inspector Harold to save Mary's life. Because Inspector Harold said, if you do not do what I say, Mary's life is in the balance. So it really, you see the conflict in him, that knowing that what he's becoming now the first lieutenant again against his will, having to now try to infiltrate the Hyperborea and to get Aurora to not fight in the battle, or else her best friend is going to die. So it really comes into what can you do to save the people you love, and how far are you willing to go?
Now, one of the most popular dystopian novels of late is The Hunger Games. Right? So tell me, I'm sure you've seen them.
Oh,
Either
yes.
seen the movies or read the books.
Both, yeah.
So compare and contrast. Tell me how your books are like them, how your books are different. Because people are going to say that. They're going to say, oh, another group of dystopian novels. Are they the same as... They will. I mean, critics will do that. So
And it's so
how are they
funny,
different?
yeah, because I didn't even know about the Hunger Games when I started this
because
book series.
Sure.
And but I, of course, read J.K. Rowling's, with Harry Potter series, and I love it. That's why I tell people, I say it's like the Hunger Games meets Harry Potter, because it has that magical element.
Magical
it has
powers.
like the powers, and it has and so much depth to these characters. As much as I did love Katniss, I couldn't really relate with her. I felt for her a little bit, but I feel like for Aurora and Boreas, they could be anyone, and anybody like me or you, we can be the ones to be in this prophecy to help save the world for the better, and that there is this inner strength or this inner god or goddess within us to fulfill that. And in anything in our life, it doesn't have to be as drastic as a geometric storm. It could be in the little things that we do every day to help make a difference.
Yeah, and I think the main character in The Hunger Games, I think the only comparison is the youth factor. And of course, we're beginning to see in our own lives that the youth factor has become very important. So
And that's what I love about the teenagers. It doesn't matter what age you are, or where you are in life, that you can stand up and make a difference. And I think that it really does show that even 15-year-olds can be on this quest to help save the world.
That's a very important message, that you do matter. You can make a difference, even if you do it in small ways.
Yeah.
What was your favorite part of writing the book, and what's your favorite part of the books?
My favorite part of writing, I guess this latest...
Getting it done.
This latest book, yes, I was going to say, just completing it was such... I was just it was like a sigh of relief. It was like one of those things where I just didn't think that I was going to finish it. I kept thinking, with all the things that were going on in my life, that this journey was just... their lives were going to be in limbo. No one was going to know what was going to happen to Aurora and Boreas, but nobody knew. And just to be able to finally get to this part at the ending, where I was in that dark period of my life, when I was writing it, and then when there was that, that glimpse of hope and that light, I feel like that really does come across in the ending for this book. And I absolutely loved how it ends, and also segues into the fourth book. And I think that people are going to really love it.
Okay, so let's get to the nitty-gritty. Publishing.